For generations, Shadow Hill stood like a silent giant on the edge of the small town of Elmswood. Locals whisper about the Elwood Mansion, a decaying Victorian house, said to be the source of strange lights and unexplained screams. Kids dared each other to step past the iron gate, but no one ever stayed long enough to reach the porch. Ethan Morgan, a 20-year-old architecture student from out of town, arrived in Elmswood determined to investigate the house for his thesis, the psychological impact of abandoned architecture. His professor thought he was crazy for choosing the Elwood Mansion, but Ethan had a secret reason. His late grandmother, who raised him, once told him she was born in that very house, before a family mysteriously fled in the 1940s. Determined to uncover the truth, Ethan hiked up Shadow Hill, recording his steps and documenting his thoughts. The moment he crossed the rusted gate, his camera glitched. No matter how many times he reset it, the audio kept recording faint whispers. He entered the house around dusk. The front door creaked open before he touched it. Dust floated in the golden light from his flashlight, and the air smelled like old books and rot. But the strangest thing, the house wasn't empty. There were shoes at the door, a coat on the rack, and a hot teacup sitting on a crooked table in the parlor. Ethan froze. Then a soft voice echoed from the hallway. "You came back, Ethan." Ethan spent the night inside the mansion. Sleep didn't come. Instead, he explored the house in silence, every floorboard creaking under his cautious steps. In the master bedroom, he found a thick, leather-bound book hidden behind a loose panel in the wall. It was a journal belonging to Isabella Elwood, his grandmother's older sister. The journal entry started normally, a teenager writing about her daily life in the early 1930s. But soon the tone shifted. She described seeing a shadow with eyes, reflections that didn't match her movement, and a lullaby that wouldn't stop playing in her dreams. She also wrote about her mother, Margaret Elwood, performing strange rituals and sealing mirrors in certain rooms. Mother says it's the family gift or curse. She says, "I have to learn to contain it." Ethan read for hours. One page, near the back, stopped his breath. "Tonight, I try to leave the house, but the trees close in. The hill won't let us go." Mother screamed when she saw me outside. She said, "He watches through the mirrors now. If you break one, he'll wear your skin." Downstairs, something crashed. When Ethan ran to check, he found a broken mirror on the floor. His own face was still smiling inside the reflection. By the third day, Ethan had uncovered more than he bargained for. He discovered rooms that weren't on the blueprint, passages behind walls, doors leading to nowhere, a staircase that looped endlessly unless he walked backward. The more time he spent in the house, the more reality seemed to bend. His reflection in the mirror would blink out of sync. Sometimes he'd hear his own voice in another room, whispering things he never said. In a sealed-off attic, he found dozens of photographs, family portraits, all with the same horrifying detail. Each person's face had been scratched out with something sharp. Ethan started recording video logs. One night, reviewing his footage, he saw something impossible, himself, sleeping, while someone with his exact face stood behind the camera, smiling, panicking. He ran to the mirror to confront his reflection. It wasn't there. Instead, written in condensation across the glass, "Find the chair. Finish the ritual." He returned to the journal. The final pages described a ritual room in the basement, used to trap the entity that had haunted their bloodline for generations. Margaret Elwood had tried to seal it by sacrificing something or someone. That someone was Isabella. The ritual failed, and now the entity wanted Ethan to finish what was started. The basement was colder than the rest of the house, too cold for summer. Ethan descended the stone steps with trembling hands, flashlight flickering. The air was thick and damp, like breathing through cloth. At the bottom, he found it, a mirror-lined chamber with an old iron chair in the center, bolted to the floor. The mirrors were arranged in a perfect circle. Some were cracked, others pulsed faintly as if breathing. Chains dangled from the ceiling. The smell of rust and burnt hair filled the room. He placed a journal in Isabella's ribbon, discovered earlier under a loose stair, on the chair. Then, just as the journal instructed, He lit the 5 black candles placed at each point of a pentagram carved into the floor. As he read the incantation aloud, the room shook. The mirrors rippled like water. From within them, distorted versions of himself screamed. Then, a figure stepped out of the largest mirror. It was Margaret Elwood, or something wearing her skin. Her voice sounded like dozens layered on top of each other. You carry the blood. Finish it or become it. Ethan realized the truth. The curse wasn't passed down. It was waiting. It needed a vessel, and Ethan had been lured here since birth. In a final act of defiance, he slashed his palm and placed his blood on the ribbon and the journal. The mirrors trembled violently, and light exploded from the iron chair. The entity screamed. Then, silence. Ethan woke on the front lawn of Shadow Hill as the sun rose. The mansion behind him was silent, empty. The windows were blacked out. The door wouldn't open anymore, as if the house had finally sealed itself shut. His camera lay beside him, still recording, but something had changed. When he reviewed the footage, it played perfectly until the final ritual. After that, it only showed static. Ethan returned to Elmswood, but he couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Reflections still lingered too long. Mirrors cracked without warning, and every night at exactly 3:07 a.m., the same lullaby echoed faintly from his closet. He never went back to Shadow Hill. But sometimes other students, curious, brave, or foolish, would ask him about the mansion. Ethan would just smile faintly and say, "If it calls you, you're already too late." A month after Shadow Hill sealed itself, Ethan tried to return to a normal life at his university, but nothing felt real anymore. Food lost its taste, sleep gave him no rest, and reflections continued to behave independently. One evening, as he was sorting through his books, a thick yellowed envelope fell from between the pages of the Elwood Journal. It hadn't been there before. There was no stamp, no return address. Inside was a single page. You sealed the house, but not the blood. Elwood is only one of many. Attached was a faded photo. 5 children, dressed in early 1900s clothing, stood in front of 5 different mansions. All of them had the same symbol etched on the door, a circle with 5 vertical lines inside it. One of the children looked just like Ethan, but it couldn't be. His hands trembled as he flipped the photo. A single name was written on the back, the Mirrorborn. Ethan turned to the one place that had always been his escape, the deep corners of the internet, forums about haunted places, occult histories, and cursed bloodlines. It didn't take long before he stumbled across a hidden group called Reflections of the Fifth, active since 1998. It was filled with stories almost identical to his. Mirrors that moved, houses that vanished after rituals, voices whispering from basement corners. One user in particular, known only as Mother Glass, seemed to know too much. When Ethan messaged her privately, she responded immediately, "You're the 5th, that's why the others failed." Shadow Hill is only one node. There are 4 more, one on each cardinal point. When all 5 are activated, the gate opens. Ethan asked what that meant. Her last message read, "Meet me in Ravenska. Bring the ribbon." Then she went offline. Ravenska was a coastal town 3 states away, old, crumbling, forgotten by time. Ethan traveled by night, his dreams haunted by distorted versions of himself whispering warnings and playing a lullaby backwards. When he arrived, fog blanketed the streets like a suffocating veil. The locals wouldn't speak to him. Children stared too long. Mirrors and shops reflected people who weren't there. Ethan followed Mother Glass's instructions to an abandoned chapel by the sea. There, he met a frail woman in her 70s, eyes cloudy, skin pale, and a scar running from her temple to her jaw. She called herself Margot, a descendant of another mirror family. She explained that long ago, 5 families were chosen to guard the Mirror Gate, a passage between worlds. Each family sealed a portion of the gate inside their homes. But generations of betrayal, madness, and failed rituals had allowed the entity inside the mirrors, called the Echoed One, to begin reaching through again. Shadow Hill was just one seal. There were 4 more. And now, only Ethan remained of all 5 bloodlines. Ethan and Margot prepared to travel to the next curse site, the Black Veil Estate, located deep in the Appalachian woods. But before they could leave Ravenska, things spiraled. That night, all the town's mirrors began to hum, vibrating at the same pitch. Then, one by one, they cracked. The next morning, 3 people were found wandering the streets, speaking backward. Another was found staring at his bathroom mirror, eyes bloodshot, whispering, "He's watching through me now." Margot confirmed it. The echoed one was awakening. Every time Ethan got closer to the next ceiling, it tried harder to break free. And the scariest part? It was beginning to manifest physically, not just in reflections. Ethan watched a version of himself crawl out of a shattered mirror in the motel bathroom, dragging itself across the floor like a shadow made flesh. Margot destroyed it with a chant Ethan didn't understand. "You are the last vessel," she warned him. "If he takes you, the gate won't need to open. He'll bring it here." As Ethan stood at the edge of Blackvale Estate, an eerie sense of familiarity hit him again, like he'd been there before. The mansion was crumbling, with vines wrapped around its Gothic spires and windows long sealed shut. Inside, the same symbol from Shadow Hill appeared, this time burned into the wooden floor. The house was darker than the last, colder, angrier. In the dining room, he found a mirror larger than a wall, written in fog across it. Asked her what she gave up. Ethan turned to Margot, but she was gone. In her place stood Isabella, not aged, not dead, just as she looked in the 1933 photo. She touched the glass from the inside and whispered, "You broke the cycle too early. The seal was incomplete. I was the key, not the door." Then she faded, and the mirror began to glow. Black tendrils crept from its edges. A voice deeper than sound rumbled from within. "4 down, 1 to go. Come home, child." Ethan barely escaped the Blackvale Estate. The mirror didn't shatter. It swallowed itself, and with it, a part of Ethan's reflection. He left shaken, bleeding, and without Margot, who had either vanished or been taken. Now, only one mansion remained. The 5th, according to Margot's map, it was in northern Maine, hidden deep in an uncharted forest known only to locals as Dead Hollow. No one lived near it. No roads led to it. Ethan had to walk for nearly 2 days with only the compass from the Elwood Journal to guide him. The forest felt alive. Trees shifted subtly behind him. Shadows stretched longer than they should. At night, he heard a lullaby sung from the treetops. Finally, he reached it. A house built entirely of black stone, half buried into a hillside. No windows, just a single wooden door with 5 horizontal slashes, matching the symbol he'd seen so many times. Inside was only one thing, a mirror, standing 10 feet tall, framed in bone and obsidian, pulsing like a living heart, and written in blood at its base. "Here ends a child," or begins the echo. Ethan knew what he had to do. He placed the ribbon, the journal, and all 4 relics from the other houses, each soaked in a piece of his bloodline, into the center of the floor. Then he stood before the mirror and whispered the final line from Isabella's journal. "I offer what I am, to close what was never meant to open." The mirror trembled. Then it pulled him in. He awoke in a mirror world, a warped reflection of reality where nothing stayed still. Time twisted, light flickered, buildings floated, cracked, or screamed when touched. There, the echoed one revealed its true form, a towering, faceless being made of shattered reflections, constantly shifting into people Ethan knew. His grandmother, Margot, Isabella, even himself. "You sealed the houses," it thundered, "but I lived in you." The entity revealed that Ethan's entire life had been manipulated. The dreams, the visions, the journal, all orchestrated to bring him here, to the mirror world. The others were merely rehearsals. Ethan was the final gate. If he died here, the echoed one would escape into every reflective surface in the real world. Ethan knelt before the echoed one, not in surrender, but in resolve. He remembered something Isabella wrote. The only way to break a reflection is to reject it. The entity fed on guilt, fear, and identity. So Ethan did the unthinkable. He closed his eyes and let go of everything. His fear of death, his obsession with the truth, his family name, even his own identity. "I am no one," he whispered. "I am not yours. You have no face to wear." The mirror world began to crack. The echoed one screamed, shattering into millions of fragments. The entire realm imploded like glass under pressure, sucking in buildings, shadows, and light. Just before the last piece fell, Ethan felt a warm hand grab his. It was Isabella. She whispered, "Thank you," and smiled. Then everything went dark.